Now, regardless of what you've heard, Texas A&M is not leaving the SEC to go to the Big Ten. Now, that rumor was started recently. It's been swirling around the college football realm the past couple of days. And after just double checking with people who I promise definitely know what's going on in Aggie land, there's no way they're going to run to the Big Ten because of Texas or any financial share increase. It's just not true. And anyone that tells you otherwise is peddling more than Lance Armstrong and Pablo Escobar combined. Now, we can sit here and discuss the crazy amount of fake news during the talking season that gets thrown around the sport, but instead, let's look at the main reason why it would not be in A&M's best interest to leave the SEC for the Big Ten because of Texas, and it's one simple word: optics. It would look like you were scared of them. Scared of them being in your own conference. And that just isn't true. You can say a lot of things about A&M, but they're definitely not scared. Now, I do know that A&M previously left the Big 12 that had Texas in it, but that was to go to the SEC. You don't run from a house fire into a volcano because you don't want to get burned. Now, you would never recover optically from that image, regardless of how much money you'd make in the Big Ten or how much veto power you get. You would absolutely get clobbered in recruiting because of it as well. Now, the actual reality is exactly the opposite. Having Texas come into the SEC is the best case scenario for A&M because now Texas has to go through the same hell that Texas A&M is now used to going through. And while the Longhorns are going to be good next year with Quinn coming back and what Sark's doing, nobody is questioning that or blaming Texas. Over time, it makes them more vulnerable. So let's put this rumor to bed because coaches are already going to use it now against A&M in recruiting. And let's focus on the plausible. And to those out there just making things up, stop it. It helps nobody. But a guy that helps everyone, a father of three, a man that pays his taxes and believes in America, David Cohn. He's also 6'7". And then my brother, a man of many talents, so many I can't even list, got a great head of hair on him.
Wow. This is new. Keep going, please.
Can do a Sudoku every now and then.
I can.
Blaine Crane, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. David, I just wanted to put this to bed because I've seen it everywhere. It's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It took 2 seconds last night for me to double check, like I said, with people that I know that are in it. But do you see my point of if you're A&M and you had to pick any conference to be in with Texas, the SEC is the perfect one. Because now Texas has to go through that roller coaster and you will have a better chance as opposed to being in a conference where you're just running through everybody else. Texas got to go through hell to get to heaven now a little bit.
Do it, Texas A&M. Big Ten.
What's wrong with you?
I talked to my sources after you talked to your sources. Done deal. Wrap them up. Go to the Big Ten. Geography clearly doesn't matter anymore. The Big Ten's a motivated party. Hey, we already got California schools. We got schools up in Oregon. Let's go ahead and go down to the Texas market. But of course, when I first heard about this news, it seemed absolutely crazy. Like you said, they did run before. They ran to the SEC. There is just something about the language, and every time I hear that, the Aggies' contractual negotiations about wanting to keep Texas away from them. It's crazy. I mean, here in this statement here, the Aggies will reportedly get a much bigger financial package in the Big Ten from their current earnings. They also want a right to veto a potential addition of the Longhorns in the future. That was the request they made to the SEC, too. How'd that work out?
Well, it's in today's era of college football where everything's changing quickly, it's almost like you got to look at everything and really think about it because who the hell knows? I mean, look at how much the game has changed. But, Blaine, I do want to kick this over to you. Here's what I'm going to go ahead and tell you about A&M, and I haven't really heard anybody other than us say it, and I'm not saying they're going to win a national championship next year or that they're ever going to win one under Mike Elko. But do not confuse this A&M team now with Coach Elko and what he's doing with what went on with Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher was a good coach. Won a national championship at Florida State. I'm not trying to knock him. But Texas A&M isn't coming in and with high expectations anymore. I think Mike Elko is going to get them back to the gritty team and the gritty identity that they need to have to be able to operate at the highest level of efficiency, right? The best thing for them. They're going to get back to fundamentals, being tough, that 12th man really making sense. And the more you kind of pick at these guys, you're going to end up pissing them off. And I'm just telling you this. Mike Elko went in a joke, man. He did it at Duke, right? He won at Duke, where all they care about is basketball and midterms. All right, imagine what he can do at a place where they show up at midnight to scream at each other in the middle of campus. That's all I'm going to say. So A&M is not leaving the SEC. But Blaine, again, would you not rather catch Texas in the SEC, where again, you're not the state school technically, right? So you're probably going to be the underdog going into it. I think it's good for A&M.
Well, yeah, no, I think so, but this is just A&M's just got little brother written all over them.
Why do you like A&M didn't start this rumor. Like this wasn't started by A&M. Like
did A&M want Texas in the SEC?
I don't think at first. I think but again, we there's nuance to it. Why? It's not like Texas A&M left the Big 12 just so they didn't have to play Texas. Texas A&M went to the SEC because it made their brand better. It gave them a recruiting edge when they went into a kid's living room saying, listen, I know Texas is the big bad state school, right? We know they're the biggest one. We get it, but we're in the SEC. Why don't you come play in the best conference in the country? It's not, oh, we're afraid to play Texas. This was an advantage in recruiting for us. It gave us kind of our feather in the cap outside of being the big dog within the state. So I think we do need to explain the nuance. The rumor was unfounded. I just wanted to shoot it down. They're not going anywhere. They don't need to go anywhere. And the SEC doesn't want them to go anywhere.
Well, when you talk about Mike Elko being the head coach and how he's going to coach the team and it's going to be different than Jimbo Fisher, he wouldn't have any say in a decision like this anyway.
No,
we're talking about so far in the future. He may not even be the head coach by the time. The real reason this won't happen is because they're locked into the deal until 2034. And obviously, one school we haven't talked about, which is a huge hinge in this whole thing, is Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame has a perpetual invite to the Big Ten. So if you got Notre Dame, you'd get a second school to keep everything even. I think that's why they're even having
Florida State.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, every AD, this is why I said last year when Michigan was threatening to leave the Big Ten after Harbaugh got suspended, every AD should be talking with every conference just to know what offers out there in case their conference crumbles in the matter of a couple weeks, like the Pac-12 did. They're all talking to them, so maybe that's where some of this stuff is coming from. But if Texas A&M and the SEC's locked into a deal, a contract to 2034, and Notre Dame is locked into their contract as an independent school until 2029, I don't see how it's ever going to time up to where both of those schools could leave for the Big Ten and be in at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's going to be interesting to see some of these, periphery schools. We saw UMass just join the MAC. Yep. You look at UConn and schools like that. Hey, YouTube, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, don't be lame your whole life. Grow up, figure it out. Thanks.